Welcome again to another edition of Shelf Life Book Reviews Online. This time out, I am bringing to your attention two very highly recommended books, two very diverse books. The first one is Watching the Devil Dance, How a Spree Killer Slipped Through the Cracks of the Criminal Justice System. This is written by Will TOFFAN and is published by Biblioasis, and it retails for $22.95. A lot of people might not be familiar with a spree killing that took place on June the 25th, 1966, in the streets of Windsor, Ontario. There was a gentleman by the name of Matthew Charles Lamb. He took his uncle's shotgun and went out and started to randomly shoot people. He shot 4 people, 2 of the people died, and it became a scary night for the people of Windsor. He actually went to a lady's house with the shotgun and he threatened to kill her. And she called, out that her husband was upstairs. The man, the killer, walked out, and what police theorized later was, thankfully, the lady did not call the police because Matthew Charles Lamb went out the back, waiting with his shotgun, anticipating that the police would show up, and he would have picked them off like ducks in a pond. So she went to the police the next morning. She hadn't heard about what happened on the streets of Windsor, and she mentioned, that a man had come to her house. Well, that's who it was, and they did arrest him finally, and he was tried, and his lawyers, pretty well made him out as, crazy. And he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. And he was sent to the Oak Ridge facility for the criminally insane, where he spent several years there till his release in the 1970s. Now, the author, Will TOFFAN, is a retired RCMP officer. He has researched this book so well, and he takes you right into the heart of the investigation, right into the heart, actually the killer, which really didn't have a heart at the time. And he tells us that after Matthew Charles Lamb was released, he decided he wanted to go to Israel to become a freedom fighter for the Israeli army. Well, that fell apart. That didn't work out. So then he went to Rhodesia, where he joined their army, and he wanted to help in the liberation of Zimbabwe. Ironically, he was killed during friendly fire, and he was given a hero's burial, which is even more ironic. So this book looks at William Charles Lamb's life. Like I said, it is well researched. So if you like true crime novels, this is definitely a book that is very riveting. It is a book that you will not be able to put down because it is so well written. And once again, Watching the Devil Dance is a book you should go out and purchase immediately. And the second book that I'd like to draw to your attention to, and in the words of Monty Python, and now for something completely different, much different than the first true crime book, this is Gender Swapped Fairy Tales by KARRIE FRANSMAN and Jonathan Plackett. This is published by Faber, and it retails for $38.95. In these politically correct times, why not have fairy tales that show the gender swapping, that instead of the male or the female, it's the male that is taking this role. These books are actually, the drawings in the book, there are several drawings, they were done by KARRIE FRANSMAN, and the book was written by Jonathan Plackett. Basically, he takes the fairy tales as they were. He does not rearrange the fairy tales other than the gender swapping. And for an example, the tale of Cinderella is known here as Cinder, and it is a man who is being mistreated by his brothers. He has to do all the menial labor around the house because the brothers are too lazy to pick up after themselves or do anything. Now, the brothers are invited to the grand ball, this grand night, and of course Cinder has to stay home. But the fairy godfather, not fairy godmother, the fairy godfather comes to let Cinder know that he can go to the ball. And so he has him head to the ball in the coach, but as with the regular story, he must leave by midnight, or else, well, we know what happens to Cinderella. So he's at the ball, he's having such a great time, and nobody recognizes him, but they see this handsome man, and he suddenly realizes, uh-oh, it's midnight, so he runs, and he loses his glass slipper, just like Cinderella did, and so they have to hunt for the man who owned the glass slipper. It is a fun story, but Cinderella was. Now, a lot of these stories that I read during my childhood, I actually forgot how they turned out, and a lot of these were graphically violent. So it makes you wonder how children, actually grew up and loved fairy tales. But anyway, this is a fun look at classic fairy tales. In fact, you will read about Gretel and Hansel. Jacqueline and the Beanstalk. She climbs the beanstalk, sells the cow, and she climbs the beanstalk. And there's Mistress Puss in Boots, among others. There's also Snowdrop instead of Snow White. So if you're looking for a different kind of book, I would say this would be for children, for likely, older children, or for adults who forget their fairy tales and want to see a different take on the fairy tales. So Gender Swap Fairy Tales is very highly recommended as well. So those are the two books that I wanted to bring your attention. Hopefully when you're out planning your book purchases, these two books will be at the top of your book list. So thank you again for watching Shelf Life Book Review videos online. I welcome your comments. Please let me know how I'm doing. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay social distancing, and above all, please stay in touch. Bye for now.